This is Bits and Bots for Business, the podcast about technology, systems, human ingenuity, and automation. From apps to AI, e-commerce to emails, we talk about it all. I'm Stephanie Gadden, global citizen, technologist, and curious human being. Welcome to episode 2 of Bits and Bots for Business. We're talking AI today. So I'll start with a question. What happens when we expect AI to fix problems that we haven't clearly defined? And what good is going fast and accelerating if we're unclear on our direction?
So we thought AI is the next big thing. Let's see what we can do with AI.
That was Ivo Dush, the Global Business Development Manager for Canon Production Printing, based out of Venlo in the Netherlands. We'll hear more from Ivo a little later in this episode, but first I want to discuss the question I asked. What happens when we expect AI to fix problems, the ones that we haven't yet clearly defined? Across industries, from enterprise software into print, signage, packaging, we've seen the same pattern emerge through 2025 and heading into the beginning of 2026. AI moves fast. The tools are impressive, capabilities have expanded, but people and many teams are still struggling to see a consistent, reliable improvement in their day to day. And over the past year, I've been watching some organizations across our industry and in adjacent manufacturing sectors where they've experienced and been experimenting with AI inside their production workflows. And while the tools and the industries differ, there is a pattern that keeps showing up. And that is that the speed of AI is not the problem. The real challenge, and where people fail and where AI integration usually falls over, is that teams try to add an AI something into their existing way of working without improving the thinking that feeds that process. I had another conversation recently with a technical software architect that I've been collaborating with, and he has put it simply as AI does not get stuck on the code, it gets stuck on the humans. And that line has stayed with me because I think it applies just as strongly in the world of manufacturing and print production as it does to large enterprise IT. In almost every sector, whether we're looking at finance, retail, government, manufacturing, and even printing, leaders want the same thing: a faster delivery with better quality, a clearer communication, and fewer costly mistakes. And AI was meant to help with all of that. But in practical terms, most of the rollouts we saw last year, and some of them that are still trying to go, have failed and stalled. And it's not because the AI model can't do something, it's because the team or the individuals treat the AI as if it was a shortcut. And processes are not built for that. And unclear briefs still make their way downstream into the workflow. Now, if you've ever received a half baked client brief, you will recognize this problem immediately. When the input is vague, the output cannot be anything except unpredictable. And AI is no different. One of the most effective uses of AI that I have seen in the printing industry didn't start with a sweeping promise of automation of an entire process. It started with one very specific question: where exactly is the real bottleneck in this process?
We do elevator print already for quite some time. And what we learned from it is that our customers yeah, really need skills, Photoshop skills, to get their 2D image all the way up to a sufficient height map. So we thought AI is the next big thing. Let's see what we can do with AI.
Ivo is talking about Height IQ, a free AI powered application that Canon released that simplifies the creation of the digital height maps that are required for elevated printing on their Arizona family of flatbed printers. What stands out for me is not just the time saving that this application creates for graphic designers and printers, but it's the restraint. Canon didn't try to automate the creativity. They didn't try and replace designers. They focused on one specific, clearly defined task that was slowing down everything else.
We showed on FESPA, that's a big technology trade show for the print industry, for large format graphics. Here in Europe, we showed a technology study around AI, and that was, let's say, the front runner of height IQ. And we gained a lot of traction around it. So we thought, hey, there is something. And of course, AI, as mentioned, is a buzzword in also the printing industry. And combined with elevated print, yeah, that was really appealing. And so we thought, okay, let's move from that technology study and take it to the next level. And we start developing the tool. And yeah, in September this year, 25, we were almost ready with height IQ. We had to do some check marks. And indeed, it really showed what AI is capable of. And especially when it comes to that specific thing in the workflow you mentioned, right? To
Mhm.
create that actual height map. And that saves on average about, yeah, 10 hours, depending, of course, on the skill level of Photoshop and the type of image that you use.
So Canon saw a very particular and specific problem, and they found a way to fix it with AI. And this is exactly what we see in the world of specification driven development in software. AI can deliver the most value when the problem is well understood, very tightly scoped, and clearly articulated. So, specification development is not a tool heavy technical way. If you think about it, it's more about a mindset. When you strip the concept back to its essentials, it's really just a modern way of saying we need to be clear about what we're trying to achieve before we ask AI to help us achieve it. And I think that idea translates perfectly across into print and signage workflows as much as it does in the software world. For example, a signage company receives artwork and that doesn't have any color profiles, scale information, or substrate. Production cannot go ahead. If a packaging job arrives with contradictory die line notes and the client insists that the AI should fix it, the box can't be made. A marketing team requests a quick rebrand, but they can't articulate the constraints, approvals, or any mandatory elements in the brand. For all of these cases, the outcome is not slow because of the tool, it's slow because the thinking has not finished before the work begins. AI speeds up work that is well defined and it amplifies chaos when the work is not defined. The second thing that comes up often in my work with people on AI is the misconception that AI removes the need for human judgment or replaces human judgment and can be used that way. In practice and in my observations, the opposite actually tends to be true.
But then, of course, in Photoshop, you need to, yeah, play a little bit,
Mhm.
and there is the human still needed to state, okay, this is good enough, or I still need to
Yep.
do some tweaking and things around it. So, especially with the visually and impaired and for the blind, yeah, it's that specific
Mhm.
that it's really depending on the skill level of the designer.
That distinction matters because AI accelerates execution. However, humans remain responsible for judgment, quality, and intent. And once that acceleration kicks in, something else becomes very, very visible. When you've got AI doing the repetitive heavy lifting, the bottlenecks in your process don't disappear, they shift somewhere else. In software, they would shift upstream into specification and QA planning, and downstream into the testing and validation, which become the new bottlenecks. In print, I see the same thing happening. In our example, speaking with Ivo, once height map creation has become faster, the pressure now shifts to design clarity, creative intent, getting approvals for the work and the payment, and print validation. So AI is not removing work, it's not taking work away, it's shifting where the work is required. And from a workflow and flow efficiency perspective, this is actually a very good problem to have because it shows you exactly where to invest next.
The printing part still needs some time to
Mm.
print elevated because you can imagine that just a flat print
You
is
can't have
less
any
time
clip.
consuming than
Yes,
than putting all the
yes.
ink drops to
The
each other.
layers.
So
Yes.
exactly. So yeah, hopefully we see that happen,
Mm-hmm.
because that really means that elevated print is going to a broader audience.
So, this is the moment that a lot of organizations and teams miss. They will celebrate the speed gain from AI or the tool that they're using, but they don't adjust the rest of the workflow to support this. The teams that succeed when they use AI are doing something different. They take the specification part of the process very seriously. They make quality of specification important. They embed that clarity and seeking that clarity upstream. They raise the AI literacy of their whole team and they measure flow, not just tasks completed. And more importantly, they keep humans firmly in the loop of the entire workflow because they don't take AI output on faith. It is always reviewed, always refined, and validated every single time. And that's not a limitation, it's an operating model. So, why choose this operating model? Well, there's a very important reason that human review will remain essential. It's because AI doesn't just speed things up, sometimes it invents things.
But then the weird thing of AI comes in, and that is that AI can sometimes add things that are not there, That is a little
Yes,
bit the trick
yes.
of AI. So, and that is what we call ghosting. So,
Mhm.
when you have your full detailed button on, then you can see some things in the picture that doesn't add to, to quality and brings the quality down even.
Yes,
So, and
yes.
therefore we need those four types of tiling, and then the human eye can select, okay, this is the one I need.
So, this is why clarity has to come before AI can be used. Whether you're writing software, designing signage, preparing files for elevated printing, or doing printing on bags or packaging, the AI that you're using needs boundaries, it needs context, and it has to understand your intent. Specification driven work is not about trusting AI more or less. It's about trusting your processes and defining your processes that you can trust them. Because when that happens, AI stops being a novelty and it becomes something that is predictable, a valuable part of your modern production factory floor. So before we ask AI to speed things up, we need to make sure we actually know what we are asking it to do. Because acceleration without a proper direction rarely ends well for anyone.
I think for many companies, but also for Canon, it's a trial and error because we are still in the early days of AI. How weird that it sounds,
Figuring
but
out where it works is what I
yeah,
would say.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
And that is something really, and we are part of the bigger Canon Inc. organization.
Mhm.
And yeah, I, I think AI is here to stay, obviously, and it will evolve even more and faster, and it will become better, and also it will take a giant leap, I think, forward.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's basically up to us, but also really listen to our customers and designers.
Mhm.
What do they need?
So, taking from what Ivo said there, when we talk about keeping humans in the frame of AI, It's not just about the oversight or approvals on the work or shifting bottlenecks. It also means keeping people involved in the definition and the specification pre work, which happens earlier in the process. And even before that, it is worth pausing to ask a simple question: is this something that is needed, even if it's not yet identified? Because that's how Canon got to the Height IQ app. This is Bits and Bots for Business. Thank you so much for listening to episode 2. You can follow us anywhere that you get your podcasts and sign up for our newsletter at rockingrose.technology.